Ah, yes. Remembering that the force is female and that the best way to generate buzz is to alienate the original fandom of a franchise. Uh, at least that's what Disney has done for many years. In particular, with the Star Wars franchise, they paid a king's ransom to purchase the Star Wars universe and everything that comes with it from George Lucas, and has, outside of just basically releasing rehashes of all the old movies, have spent most of their time, regenderizing the entire universe, pissing off fans with films like The Last Jedi, and creating division in the fandom rather than just putting out good movies. They most of what they've put out of Disney Star Wars films sucked. They've had moments in them that feel like Star Wars, but then there are always these immersion breaking, like cringe, modernizations of them. Forcing Daisy Ridley on everybody. And again, I don't even necessarily hate Daisy Ridley, but Rey just sucks as a character. And that's not Daisy's fault, and that's not Rey's fault. That's lazy writing's fault. And when people didn't want to go see that movie, and when people, reviewed it, accurately, they called us all sexist and they called us all homophobic and all this kind of stuff, rather than just focusing on putting out good movies. Well, fortunately, I have great news for fans of Star Wars. The new Star Wars, apparently Taika Waititi has some sort of, inside line on his own Star Wars film, which again, I like some of his stuff. What We Do in the Shadows, I liked. Jojo Rabbit, I liked. I don't know. I guess I'm not familiar with every film he's ever done. Thor: Love and Thunder was an abomination. I didn't even like his first Thor movie that he did. They turned Thor into the butt of the joke, and I didn't care for it. Thor is supposed to have pride, and they robbed him of that because ha 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 jokes, screaming goats, ha 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 ha. Oh, look he lost all of his clothes. He flicked too hard. Ha 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 ha. And I guess it's jokes for 12-year-olds, which again is fine. He's also a bit of a degenerate in real life. But anyway, Thor: Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi says his Star Wars film is going to piss people off. Awesome. I mean, it's not like Disney hasn't completely collapsed the Star Wars universe. I mean, if we look at, I want to pull this up, Disney Star Wars movies. So we saw, in my opinion, the only one that was any good was Rogue One. The rest of them were all like, you'd have to be kind of a hardcore Star Wars fan to find something to like about it. Things of that nature. But like the Star Wars story, Solo: A Star Wars Story, was a disaster. It was so bad that they dropped all future plans of, I think they had a Lando movie or something like that they were going to do. It's an embarrassment. The Rise of Skywalker's mediocre. If I wanted to look, actually, hold on. If we look at the Golden Age, right? Empire Strikes Back, 95%. The Force Awakens, which is actually wild, got a 93%. And that is a Disney Star Wars movie. It was okay. I don't think it was a 93. But then you have, obviously, A New Hope at 93. Then they had The Last Jedi at 91, which is absurd. Like that there's no way that this was a 91. Critics pushed the reviews up. We look at the audience score, 42%. There was all this hullabaloo around, oh, it's just because of the Admiral gender studies in that movie, I think. All this stuff. Disney has no idea. They had no idea how to handle Star Wars. And so that's why they've stepped back. So now you have Taika Waititi coming out saying, oh, guess what? It's going to piss people off. While speaking with Variety, while promoting his next Goal Wins film, Waititi confirmed that the movie will be, quote, dramatic pause, a Taika Waititi film. He allegedly added with a laugh, it's going to piss people off. Waititi's Star Wars film was announced back in 2020 on the official Star Wars website. The site posted Academy Award winner Taika Waititi, who recently won Best Adapted Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit, which was very good. um, and directed the widely acclaimed first series finale of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. That was also pretty good too. Will direct and co-write the new Star Wars feature film for theatrical release. I don't get it. Everything this guy does is comedy. Like it's goofing on things. That's his shtick. Everything he does is a goof. And I don't think that Star Wars is a goof. Is there room for humor in the Star Wars universe? Of course. I just don't think there's any kind of appetite for Star Wars as a comedy. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think I am. The site added, joining Waititi as the screenplay will be the Academy Award nominee Christy Willison. I don't really care. From Last Night in Soho, received a BAFTA for Outstanding British Film of the Year. Don't care. In 2022, he provided an update to the New York Times telling the outlet, I'm trying to write the Star Wars idea at the moment. I've got to see how that goes because once I submit it, that might determine whether or not it even gets made. He added, I'm cool. I'm cool as well to take 6 months off and just go hang with my kids. Back in March, he was asked about rumors that he might be starring in the film as well. Oh, gotta love that. He informed Deadline, yeah, that rumor's about 3 years old. All I'll say is, God forbid I make a Star Wars film about people sitting on mountains playing flutes. When Deadline's Dominic Pattern informed him, well, they kind of went there with the last few Star Wars movies with Luke Skywalker, Waititi replied, oh, okay, then I won't do that for sure. So he hasn't even seen them? So he's never even watched Star Wars films? I don't know. I mean, they did do that with Luke Skywalker. In May, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy informed Empire magazine that Waititi was having issues with the third act. She told the magazine, Taika is working away. He won't get mad at me for saying this, slow. We've got a couple of acts. We need a third. However, in the interview, The Hollywood Reporter at the end of May, Waititi detailed he was struggling with the middle of the movie, not the third act. He said, I've got a really good idea for it. It's just with all the films in this middle part, you're like, what's going to happen? Then you look at all those films that are so great, and you're like, well, I guess they can't just meet some smuggler with an alien sidekick. He went on to note that the film script was not a top priority. For the most part, I would like to take a few holidays and go follow Rita around. Just be her little tour toy boy and hang out with her and just watch her perform and get a cup of tea backstage. So this is a guy, again, like this is a systemic issue. This is a perfect example. The guy doesn't care about Star Wars. He's not passionate about Star Wars, and they're paying him to make a Star Wars movie. A lot of people said when you had like Filoni and stuff, this guy loves Star Wars and blah, 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 blah. And to a certain degree, he was successful with The Mandalorian early on. And some people like Ahsoka. Never really, they turned Ahsoka into this like super all-powerful Jedi that the entire Star Wars universe revolves around now. I don't care for that. I don't care for the Ahsoka character. I don't care for Rosario Dawson. But the animated stuff, the Clone Wars stuff, people like. They've had some hit and miss. I liked Rogue One, but that movie is almost 10 years old by now. In September, Waititi admitted he had not finished a script while presenting Sean Levy an award at the Toronto International Film Festival. He said, after Levy has had his way with the franchise like a cruel, indiscriminate virus, he'll move on to another and another and another, and eventually probably Star Wars. Waititi then admitted, unlike me, I hope he manages to finish a script for that. Earlier this month, he informed Business Insider that it's still marinating and that he's been writing it. However, he added that he has quite a bit lined up before he moves forward with informing the outlet that he wants to do an adaptation of Clara and the Sun for his next film. He also wants to adapt Alejandro Jodorowsky's The In-Call graphic novel. So, no original ideas then? Just adapting other people's other work, I guess? Waititi's comment about pissing the film off should not come as a surprise. He also promised that he would ruin Thor's mythos in Thor Love and Thunder. He tweeted back in 2019, I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. And he did. Thor Love and Thunder was absolute garbage. The movie received a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb users, 76% audience score, Rotten Tomatoes, promise clearly delivered. Yeah, I just, I don't have a lot of faith for Star Wars. I just think people don't love it. These actors they're not Star Wars lovers. They keep trotting out, Harrison Ford, for crying out loud, who's 1,000 years old. Mark Hamill, who they turned Luke into a bitter old man. He never would have turned his back, I don't think, but they did that. You have Solo, a Star Wars. So the critics keep giving these movies high scores, but the fans hate it. I'll give you another example. Solo, a Star Wars Story, 69%. Audience gave it a 63. I suppose that's not terrible. But again, these are not 80s and 90s. 60s are like, it's a Star Wars movie. There should be a reason. Top critics still may give it a 59, rotten score. So yeah, I'm all for Taika Waititi pissing people off with his Star Wars film, because anything that we used to love gets ruined by wokeness, and the sooner it ends, the better. Like, I have to stop seeing Star Wars get. I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I never claimed to be. I was always a Star Trek guy. But like, I feel bad for Star Wars fans. They love that franchise, and every time Disney trots out a new director or a new reimagined version, it just breaks their heart, and it sucks to see. And you get people like Taika Waititi, who doesn't give a crap about Star Wars, it's writing the script isn't a priority, but for some reason Disney's hired him and Disney wants him to make one. I don't even understand it. They don't even care about Star Wars. They thought they could just buy it and put out garbage and Star Wars fans would buy it, and that's not what happened. And that's why we haven't seen really any Star Wars on the big screen. They're trying to put out all this Star Wars content on Disney Plus that nobody cares about. And meanwhile, when they want to do a Star Wars movie, what's going to happen is no one's going to care about that, because they've been getting years of mediocre, mid-tier Star Wars crap on Disney Plus. So why would they go see a movie? They haven't figured it out. They're never going to figure it out. So congrats, Taika Waititi. I can't wait to have your film piss people off.